Welcome to Northwest Aerospace News Live. I'm your host, Jennifer Ferrero, a writer for the publication. In today's episode, we are talking with Kelly Maloney of Altek, Inc. of Liberty Lake. We are excited to learn more about their marketing focus for the company and how it has impacted recruiting and revenues. Let's welcome today's guest, Kelly Maloney. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for having me, and congratulations to Northwest Aerospace News on opening up this new communications channel.
Thank you. Kelly, we have invited you on the show because we are seeing significant branding and recruitment outreach for Altek Inc. in the industry. You've been in the aerospace industry for many years. Tell us a bit about how you started in aerospace and why you enjoy working in this industry.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say I love representing Altek as their Vice President of Communications. And I'm also the CEO of Ollie Global, which has a talented team of professionals providing all aspects of marketing communications to the aerospace and space sectors. It's a really fun and challenging mix, which makes every day exciting for me. But to answer your question, I've been in marketing communications my entire career. I started as a PR representative for a large hospital and continued into e-health for a couple of tech startups. Moving from that to aerospace may seem kind of like a stretch to some, but the skills are applicable to all industries. So when I was recruited to be on the board of directors for Orion Industries, because they needed someone with a marketing background, I was excited to provide that lens to the organization. A few years after that, Orion had an opening on their senior management team, and John Tyson, who was the CEO at the time, asked me to consider the role. And that was my first foray into actually working in the sector. And I just loved it. You know, of course, John and the rest of the team were phenomenal. So it was a really easy decision. When I left Orion, Linda Lanham, who was running the Aerospace Futures Alliance, or AFA, which most of us have heard about, asked me to take a look at the role she was vacating. When I joined AFA as president and CEO, I made swift and substantive changes to increase revenues, build out the business, turn around its image, and increase brand awareness. And from there, we merged with the Washington Aerospace Partnership and the Washington State Space Coalition, which is otherwise known as WISC. The WISC merger was really competitive, and I went after it with vigor because I knew there was so much that could be and should be done for the space industry in Washington. And I knew we had the ability to do it. In fact, before I left AFA and WISC, I worked with the Department of Commerce to develop the state's first space strategy.
How did you become involved with Altek through your business, Ollie Global, and how has that relationship evolved?
It's been really exciting. I first met Mike Marzetta, who's the president of Altek, while I was at AFA. I was working on some legislative issues, and I knew the best way to show legislators the value of the aerospace supply chain and the industry overall was to highlight the economic impact one company at a time. Mike was willing to let us do a video and an article in AFA's aerospace magazine, Lift. And we focused on it, even though we focused on a number of companies, I particularly appreciated Altek coming to the table because there were not a lot of participants from Eastern Washington at that time. Then Mike reached out to me as I was leaving AFA, and we established a pretty strong bond. Once Ollie was launched, Altek became our flagship customer.
What are a couple of big successes you've had with Altek, and how has that impacted the business?
Wow. We have done so much in the past 2+ years. It started with industry diversification. Altek knew they were too heavy into aerospace, with approximately 50% of their business coming from that sector. They'd realized this before the MAX groundings, but that situation put a sharp point on it. And of course, the pandemic didn't help. So Ollie worked with the senior management team and another consultant, Bill Hockett of Critical Data, to identify the industries that made sense for Altek. From there, Ollie addressed the brand. Altek was a 40+-year-old plastic injection molding manufacturer, and it was incumbent upon us to tell the story of all their capabilities. We started with the logo, and we devised a crisp and updated mark with a clean look and feel. The corporate logo is their name only. Excuse me. And there are secondary logos that include icons from all 5 divisions and logos that are division specific. It's a really great complement of logos that have served them well so far. We also developed a new tagline, manufacturing innovation, and a super strong brand promise. All of these elements were done after all of these elements were done, we moved into production of a series of videos. We knew the best way to showcase Altek's capabilities was by showing their customers and potential customers how Altek's work fits into the value chain, because consumerism influences B2B, as Ross Schaefer so famously says. Therefore, the organizational videos start with production in Altek's facility and move quickly to the end user. The videos have many uses, but of course they are a key part of the new website Ollie developed for Altek. The website has really paid off. The team gets numerous new contacts weekly through the website, and many of them have converted into long-term high-value customers. And the new branding has resulted in a 30% increase in the sales response rate. That's because Altek is now defining itself not by what they do, but by the benefits they provide, which, if you listen to Guy Kawasaki, you know this approach helps move companies from one innovation curve to another. The added benefit is it enables customers to see your intrinsic value for their customers and therefore for themselves. Last thing I'll mention about Altek, although there are many other successful examples of the work we've done for them, the work Ollie did to help them attract new employees was really impactful. When labor was incredibly difficult to find, Ollie developed a comprehensive targeted employee recruitment campaign, including billboards, a van wrap, a feature on Made in the Northwest, a virtual factory tour, radio and TV ads, and even one of them even ran on at the end of the Super Bowl last year, and much more. We also leveraged current staff to refer friends and family. The result was an enormous increase in website traffic and highly qualified applicants that now has Altek nearly fully staffed.
Interesting. Can we take a quick look back at the logo and have you speak to those elements at the bottom of the logo? I wasn't sure if I understood all those industries.
Absolutely. So you'll see kind of left to right, there's the airplane, which represents the aerospace industry. And then can't remember what it's called, the blip, for lack of a better word, that represents the medical industry. The silhouetted planet for space, and that gear is for technology. And then the star is for the defense industry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly. What would you tell other aerospace manufacturers about working with marketing and communications companies? You and I are both in this industry. I know that's been a challenge for a lot of manufacturers, is to say, yes, I'm going to raise my hand. I need help with marketing. How do you convince them to come in and help them out with their marketing?
Well, I don't actually put myself out there to try to convince anyone of anything when it comes to working in this area. If they feel there's a need, they'll reach out, and then it becomes a matter of, helping them see the expertise that we bring to the table. And a lot of times either these companies don't have internal marketing teams, or their marketing teams have been kind of minimized because of internal politics or biases or that type of thing. And so we're able to come in and have a fresh look, be more creative, and really kind of think outside of the box for them. And you kind of hit on one thing about the aerospace industry. There's so much, and space too, there's so much need for marketing and branding and public relations and, updating the websites, or even creating websites in the first place. And so on and so forth. And the more these companies understand that this could really set them apart and increase their revenues, the more likely they are to turn to an agency like ours.
Mm-hmm. It does seem to be tough for a lot of these manufacturers to talk about themselves, it seems like. And one thing that I always hear is, gosh, we have a lot of defense business. And so I don't know if we need to go after the other aerospace commercial business, but it seems to me that there is always a market for them to continue to grow their businesses. Even if they're busy today, maybe they need more work for tomorrow, and just sort of be putting those nuts away for winter, if you will. So how do you talk to a company who's saying, gosh, we're so busy right now with the defense business, I don't know if we should go into that commercial business? What would your suggestion be?
Well, a lot of companies that are in defense, I've not necessarily seen them move from defense to commercial. I've actually seen more the other way around. At least that's my personal experience. But I guess I would say that, regardless, you want to be careful because we know that commercial aerospace is a cyclical industry, and it's being challenged right now more than ever. And so you want to be careful about the balance you have with your portfolio. So if you're, as an example, I think I mentioned Altek was 50% in commercial aerospace, and that really got to be pretty precarious for them over the last several years with the max groundings and the pandemic. And then when things went back, came back a little bit, there were the raw material shortages, labor shortages, all of those things. And so I think that I would probably consider encouraging these companies to, yes, consider aerospace still, but also consider the space industry and see if you can rework your shop floors to accommodate the special needs of the space industry, because that is an area that's really taking off.
Great. All right. And I have another question regarding the recruitment that you did with Altek, because I know that was a big thing, or it has been a big thing in manufacturing, and you did speak to it. But did you say you used friends and family or employees to be on the ads for Altek?
Yes. Yes. So employees were in the advertising, so you can see some there. And they were just such great sports about it. And and Altek has such a great culture that so many people stepped up, which was really, really refreshing and fun to work with all of them. But in addition to that, one of the strongest ways that that Altek was able to recruit new employees was through their current employee base, who went to their friends and family and said, hey, here's so many, I love working here. There's a great opportunity. I think you're qualified. You might want to consider applying. And a lot of those turned into hireable candidates that were then hired.
So that is helpful for a lot of manufacturers here in the region, I think, to hear that message. Where do you think things are headed for aerospace manufacturing in the Northwest? I know you've got some new endeavors. There's some really exciting things going on.
Well, I'll just say generally, there's just so much going on in terms of, commercial aerospace in general. I kind of already touched on a lot of that. One of the, I guess, takeaways is that Boeing recently announced that they're not going to pursue the mid-market airplane that they were thinking about. That's going to go, they're going to put that out at least another decade. So I know some manufacturers had really been hoping for that. But then we've got other really bright side opportunities, such as sustainable aviation fuel and electric aircraft, and those kind of things that are just, really, really dynamic type of things that are cutting edge. And so that's very exciting. And yes, I do have a lot of exciting things going on as well, most of it on the space side, but we can talk about that another day, I suppose.
Kelly, thank you so much for coming on to today's show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
If you'd like to learn more about Altek Inc., go to altek-inc.com and learn more about Kelly's company at olicoms.com, OLICOMMS.com. Until next time, keep on engaging with the manufacturing and aerospace news you need to know in the Northwest with Northwest Aerospace News Magazine. Goodbye.